I'm Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where we amplify the stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 233 of the podcast. So we are taking a small break from airing brand new episodes to reshare with you some of your favorite shows from the past 5 years of Rochester Rising. We had lots of insightful conversations to choose from over the past 5 years, and we hope that you spend some time with us this summer looking back at these conversations and learning more about entrepreneurship taking place in Rochester, Minnesota. So whether this is your first time listening into Rochester Rising or if you are a frequent listener here on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in and spending some of your time with us today. Rochester Rising is a storytelling platform that shares the journeys of entrepreneurs within Rochester, Minnesota through articles and podcasts. We release a podcast each Wednesday, which you can find on our website along with our articles at rochesterrising.org. And you can also listen into the podcast really wherever you best like to consume your podcasts through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we're also on YouTube. Rochester Rising is part of the nonprofit Collider, which is a Rochester-based organization that amplifies, connects, and empowers entrepreneurs within Rochester, Minnesota. We have recently instituted a virtual tip jar at Rochester Rising to help keep this platform sustainable. So if you have learned something from this podcast over the years, please consider donating to Rochester Rising through our tip jar if you can to keep this podcast going. You can find more information and locate our tip jar in the show notes, so check it out there. All right, so on the podcast today, we are rewinding back to episode 153, which originally aired on November 20th, 2019. During this podcast, I got to sit down and chat with Stefan Madansingh, who was a research fellow with the Mayo Clinic Office of Entrepreneurship at the time. The Office of Entrepreneurship is an office at Mayo Clinic with the goal to empower and inspire entrepreneurs within Mayo Clinic through education programs and community events, such as their biannual startup pitch competition called Walleye Tank. While it's summer now, when we were recording this episode, it was close to the ice fishing edition of Walleye Tank, which takes place in Rochester each December. So we talk a lot about Walleye Tank in the conversation today, entrepreneurship, and other activities that were taking place in the entrepreneurial ecosystem at the time. So while Walleye Tank is still several months away, I think this is a good conversation to raise awareness of this pitch competition and get local businesses thinking about it. If you're a life science or biotech startup, it's time to learn more about Walleye Tank now before it's time to apply. All right, so now on to the conversation today in this summertime rewind episode with the Mayo Clinic Office of Entrepreneurship. I'll start by asking you, what is the Office of Entrepreneurship? Because I don't think many people in the community really know too much about it.
Sure. So the Office of Entrepreneurship is a office at Mayo with the goal of empowering and supporting aspiring entrepreneurs within the Mayo Clinic community. So our goal is to help build this culture of innovation and entrepreneurship through education programs, through grant writing supports, through community events, primarily the Walleye Tank, which we'll be talking about a little bit more today.
Yeah, and I think that education piece is so important because, well, I just recently it is new, so I shouldn't say I was late behind the wheel, but Kauffman Foundation just put out a new business plan for I guess America. It's called I'll have to look it up, Start Us Up or something. But anyway, it has 4 pillars of the way that at a legislative level and a community level, we should be thinking about entrepreneurship. A lot of the times, and we won't get political, but a lot of things are geared towards more bigger businesses. So how do you support businesses that are just starting up, hence the name Start Us Up. But anyway, a lot of it's focused around education, because if you don't know the proper tools, how do you build something that's sustainable and successful? So, that's a big step internally to Mayo and, based on Lean Startup, which is a huge push in the state of Minnesota, too, to really adopt that technique.
Yeah, the Lean Startup technique, which is what we really focus on from an education point of view. For me, it's not perfect, but it really helped the first time that I was introduced to it, and the second time I was introduced to it, and the third time I was introduced to it. Changed and lit a light bulb for me about how to apply this scientific, rigorous training that I had as a scientist and as an engineer to solving problems from a business point of view that just didn't make sense to me until it was pointed out in that framework. And it provides, I think, the set of tools that allow for communication to occur between people from different backgrounds that are, whether they be on the business side, on the entrepreneurial side, or on the science and technology development side, to speak the same language and try to understand problems from multiple perspectives. I think it's a really helpful tool, and that's why we really focus on it in the education that we provide.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it too. As a scientist, having a business hypothesis, going out and testing it. Otherwise, you're building a product in a vacuum for who knows who.
Absolutely.
So it's a good technique, or a good tool set to have. So the Office of Entrepreneurship has roles internal to Mayo and then in the community as well. So can you talk a little bit about the different kind of products and services on both those levels?
Yeah, so primarily internally, we focus on those education pieces, like I mentioned. And so we have one class that we've run a series of time, which is a case studies and entrepreneurship class, and it's run through CCATS. We have a series of other classes that are being built and being offered throughout the next upcoming year, as well as an upcoming certificate program and master's program in innovation and entrepreneurship, which will be starting up later in 2020, which we're really excited about. So we're working to build some more course material about that. Also internally, we provide support for grant writing. We provide support for accessing other resources along inside the Mayo ecosystem and engaging closely with the Office of Translation and Practice and Mayo Clinic Ventures to help promote the idea of innovation and aspirations of entrepreneurship, to support the members of our community that might be interested in taking on those challenges. The next things we do outside of the Mayo sphere, technically, is to try to really, again, reinforce and promote that culture of entrepreneurship in the greater Rochester area. And the primary way we do that is through the pitch competitions that are held biannually with the University of Minnesota and are sponsored very strongly by the Collider Foundation, which is fantastic. We love to have them around and supporting us throughout the years. And this year, we're happy to announce Medical Alley as another sponsor, which has been great and really helping us to broaden our reach and access in the greater Minnesota ecosystem. So we're very excited about that, and it is coming up soon.
Yeah, I think that whole ecosystem building is so important. So it's great to see the Office of Entrepreneurship playing a role in the community. Because we can't support our entrepreneurs alone.
Yeah, and so we're trying to, and I kind of have this aspiration of bringing in speakers and groups from around the Minnesota area on a semi-regular basis. We were successful in bringing Mary Grove from Revolution Ventures and Rise the Rest earlier in October to do a little bit of a fireside chat and talk about some of the work that they're doing. And we're excited to have Deed represented to talk a lot about Launch MN, which is coming up, and that's very exciting. So Nina Mulgard will be at the Walleye Tank to talk a little bit about that, which is great. Yeah, that's
awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm doing a podcast, or I need to record it today, about Launch MN. We heard Neela talk last week, and they're actually coming out. Well, this will air after that one. But anyway, there's 2 pots of money out right now, the innovation grants, which I'm sure, there's a lot of interest internally for that, which there should be, because there's an SBIR STTR match for phase 2.
Yep.
And there's money for ecosystem building, which has never, to our knowledge, been recognized in the state as, and it's not even it's for doing the work that you're already doing. It's not, for my understanding, expanded efforts. You're already doing it. It's not for someone to get into it, which I think is fantastic.
It's really exciting. Yeah, I think that's going to be a great initiative, and we're looking forward to seeing what kind of comes from it.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited, and we have, a lot of interest in the area. We have Xavier Fergola on the board, as well as Christine Beach from the area. So it's really exciting. You started in this role during the summer, right? Just a few months. No, maybe not.
Kind of. Not technically. Depends who's listening.
So no, that's not true. It's been like
October 1 was when I started. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So it's really been like 6 weeks.
It's been a busy 6 weeks, but it's been really good. It's, I think I've been familiar with the ecosystem, and I mean, you and I have known each other for a little while as well. And so it's not been a complete culture shock to me, but it has been busy, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it.
So what's your really passion for this role for entrepreneurs, and what do you want to accomplish during your time with the OE? Like, what would be a win for you at the other end? And I know that's a hard thing to answer, but
yeah, I think a big part of it for me is kind of the realization I've had over the last few years being a staff scientist and a researcher is that I'm most motivated when I'm around exciting new ideas, and that's what I really love. And so I've been looking for ways to start steering my career towards a path that allows me to engage in innovation and entrepreneurship more effectively, and this was a perfect fit for me at the time. I come from a background and working in startups prior to coming to Mayo, and I love it, and it's when I'm at my most passionate and excited about the science and the work that we're doing. So this has been a great opportunity, and I'm really excited about trying to help push forward not just the educational tools that we're using at Mayo, because there are just these phenomenal scientists and engineers and innovators in the ecosystem, but also to better get embedded in a local ecosystem like I was in the last city that I lived in, and it's exciting. It's the best way to describe it. I really love it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's best just to jump in, and you've been out to a lot of stuff in the community, which is great. That's the only way, like you said, to learn about it. Get out and
get outside the building, right? Something like that.
So we wanted to talk about Walleye Tank, the Office of Entrepreneurship's life science business pitch competition. I think it's in. Is this the 8th Walleye Tank?
I want to say 7th.
Is it the 7th?
I think it's 7th. I wanted to say that the Rochester ones were the odd numbers, and
that could
Minnesota ones are the even numbers.
Well, it's been since 2016, so biannually. So whatever that ends up being. It's 7 or 8, somewhere between 6 and 8. Let's put it that way. So, what is Walleye Tank for people who, I'm assuming most people know what it is, but maybe some people don't.
I think you started off perfectly. It is a life science. It's a pitch competition with a life science lean. It's typically we are looking for companies that are in the life sciences realm, but not exclusively necessarily. It is a Y Combinator style pitch competition with 3 categories catering to the whole range of startups in terms of development. So we have very early stage, basically just conceptual startup companies, all the way to professional post-revenue companies pitching their ideas to a community of investors, entrepreneurs, scientists, researchers in the Rochester area and really all over Minnesota. So we've been pretty successful in bringing people in from across Minneapolis and the northern parts of the state as well to participate and or pitch. I think we may actually have a couple people from outside of Minnesota pitch this year as well, which we're looking forward to. That'll be exciting. And this year we're offering cash prizes for each of the groups. There's small nominal cash prizes really to kind of help boost the next small ask for each of these groups. And of course, the ongoing prize for participation and success in the Walleye Tank has always been preferred entry to the Minnesota Cup, which really is a big step ahead for lots of these small startup companies.
Yeah, and I will say it's really hard to get into the Minnesota Cup. So if it's, if you've made it through a lot of the large application round, which I'm not even sure how many applications they get, I want to say it's in the thousands, it's, that's a huge opportunity to get ahead the competition basically and get into the semifinal round.
It's one of our biggest value props that when it comes to why would you want to participate in the Walleye Tank is really you get this exposure. We offer a lot of access and we offer some mentoring, especially to the early stage teams that are interested in learning more and getting in front of more people, doing more customer discovery, and then really getting eyes on your idea and getting eyes on your mission to hopefully promote you and propel you forward into the Minnesota Cup.
Yeah, so developing the pipeline, making it stronger, right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So for people who have a life science business, I think you talked about it a little bit there, but why should they apply and what do they get out of it besides money.
Yeah.
Or the potential for a cash prize.
The potential for a cash prize. The big one, I think, really is that preferred entry into the Minnesota Cup. That really is what a startup needs when they're starting into this journey. But also, one of the big sells here is that we are inside the Mayo Clinic walls, and you get a chance to present to scientists and people who may not necessarily be easy to access on a regular basis. So the opportunity for collaboration and the opportunity for promotion and the opportunity for exposure really is what we offer for participants that are willing to come to Rochester and say their 2-minute spiel.
And the audience is usually pretty packed. It's usually 100+ people.
Yeah, we've been pretty
so
successful.
Why do people attend? What do they get out of that experience?
That's a great question. I think for a big part of why people might attend is the interest in understanding the excitement around the startup ecosystem. I think people are always on the lookout for new ideas, the best next idea to help improve clinical care, especially as we have that life sciences lean. Many of these startups are looking to solve problems in the clinical realm, and that's Mayo's mission, right? Our goal is to improve the quality of care for patients, and many of these new technologies are hoping to accomplish that.
I think it's just kind of a huge pitch competition too, and you don't see that many around here. We have Minnesota Cup, but that's in Minneapolis, so it's nice to have something that's run out of Rochester. And I know this is biannual, so it's here in December, and then in Minneapolis in whatever April or May, whenever it ends up being. Yep. But it's definitely kind of a homegrown thing, and it's nice to see that here.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention, like you said, that it's homegrown, but it's also growing. Mm-hmm. And so I was up at the Minnesota Cup right when I started up in this new position a month ago.
I know, it's gone fast.
It has gone fast. But it was really exciting to see the Walleye Tank represented there as well and advertised there as a real part of the ecosystem, and knowing that this which Amanda has been instrumental herself in growing from its conception is really itself continuing to grow and become a more legitimate and credible opportunity for companies to share their ideas with the public, as well as just a really great event for getting your idea out.
Yeah, I would say it changes a little bit each time, which is good. That means that, things are adapting and being modified based on, feedback and the state of the community. So it's always a good thing. So how do people apply, and when is the application due?
Great question. So you can apply directly on the website, www.walleyetank.com. Applications are due on November 22nd, so in about a week and a half. We'll ask you pretty standard 5 questions about your business. What's your problem? What's your solution? How is it a business? Why now? Why you? The standard questions for any startup pitch competition. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm sure Amanda will put my contact information available at the end of this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who want to attend, how do they get tickets, and when and where is the next Walleye Tank?
So you can sign up for tickets on our Eventbrite, which you can link to from the website, again, www.walleyetank.com. The Eventbrite, that's free to register. It's free to participate. I should mention that as well. There's also a reception after, which has food and refreshments. So it's really the perfect event for any students that are listening right now.
And it's Friday, December
6th.
Okay.
It's going to start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll be in Mann Hall in the MedSci building on Mayo Clinic campus.
Awesome. Yeah, and Mann Hall is great. And for people not Mayo employees, it's super easy to get in. It's right on the ground, the first floor.
Yep.
I can never remember. I'm very bad at street names and directions. I can't even remember where that is.
I want to say it's on like 2nd Ave, but I'm going to put a map on the website. So that's the real
Mann
approach
Hall.
to this one. Yeah, Mann Hall.
It's easily. So I have some final questions for you to take us to the end. I didn't think we'd get to this, so I didn't tell you about them, but they're easy. They're easy. All right. So for people listening, what is one tool that's essential for you to do your job every day? What do you need?
Oh, man, I hate being cliche, but I live on my phone now, and that's a bit of a sin.
But I would say that, too. If I didn't have my phone, I couldn't do my job.
I don't even know. I'm not trying to be an Apple promoter necessarily, but I've had this conversation recently, and I live and die by my Apple Watch as well. It's just one of these great tools that I can get enough information I need without being totally obnoxious, or at least I don't think I seem like I'm being obnoxious when I check it. I hope somebody is telling me that I am if it is really obvious that I'm reading notifications on my watch. But so far, nobody has said it, so I'm going to continue with it.
I think everyone assumes you'll just check it, and then if it's an emergent, if you like need to look at it, you'll leave, and if not, then you just ignore it. But no, I agree. Like this morning, I couldn't get the one Gmail calendar to hook up to my phone, and that's actually a problem, because if you don't get notifications, I can't look at my calendar all day. So that's a problem.
As much as I hate to admit it, I Mayoized my phone, which means I get my calendar on my phone now, which has been imperative for this new position, as I'm constantly in meetings in random rooms all over campus. And without it, I would have no idea where I was going. I live and die by my calendar.
I completely agree with that. What have you found to be one key resource in the community that's been really helpful, whether it's at Mayo or external?
I'm going to say Rochester Rising, and that's just a shameless plug. But, I've been trying to take advantage of the presence that the Office of Entrepreneurship has at the Collider co-working space. And I think that's been a real support network for me, in a way that I get to be somewhere that I get to see people doing the innovation and living the work. And that's been really important. And so I'm glad to be able to spend like about a day here a week. I don't often get to spend as much time here as I'd like to, but it's a really great place to feel the energy of people working on exciting ideas and being excited about their work as well. It's been a really nice addition to the work I'm doing on campus.
Yeah, it's a fun space. In the winter, we're sort of balancing, regulating the temperature, not too consistently. It seems like it's super hot out in the main area right now, I think.
I'm not going to lie, I miss Houston, so I'm okay with it.
It's good for you. What's been one book, podcast, article, whatever, that you've read recently or consumed that you found insightful?
Oh, man. I'm going to say two because I can't think of a good one. So if you're familiar with Gimlet Media, they do a podcast called Startup about startups, literally about them starting up Gimlet Media, which I've always really enjoyed. I enjoyed it when it first started coming out. I really specifically enjoy the episodes where they're talking about the formation of Gimlet itself. But most recently, they've been going through their acquisition by Spotify and talking about that process. And as a startup founder myself and going through a lot of those challenges, it's really, there's a bit of me that finds it really refreshing to recognize that there are very successful people that struggled with the same problems that we struggled with on a regular basis. And that's nice. It's helpful to have that insight. And the other one that I've been listening to a lot is Masters of Scale, which is a lot of fun and really, really good kind of short snippet windows into problems that large companies that we all are familiar with have faced, and they are very good about providing key insights as summaries throughout those episodes. I like them a lot.
I do listen to Gimlet. Gimlet has a lot of different
so many
podcasts.
Good ones, yeah, so many good ones.
Sometimes it gets overwhelming how many they have, but
Reply All's the best.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. I'll have to add that to my list. My last question: how do you maintain wellness and balance in life and work?
Oh man,
and there is no full answer.
There is no full answer. So I'm not going to get on a soapbox about this question because I think about it a lot, and it's pretty close to home for me, but I did get a chance to do a wellness and leadership retreat recently, and we talked a lot about this concept of balance, trying to balance your life. And I'm actually a big proponent of trying to remove that word from our vocabulary and how we evaluate where we are and how we feel about our day-to-days, because for me, trying to balance my lifestyle, which is a lot of work and often a lot of play, seems like another thing I need to do to manage my time better. And there's nothing I find more stressful than the idea that I'm managing my time poorly, because efficiency is everything, right? If you're going to hustle hard, efficiency is everything. So my goal is to kind of take that word balance out of my vocabulary and to approach wellness from the point of view of making sure that I'm comfortable with where I'm at periodically and repeatedly throughout every day, so that I'm present and that I know that what I'm doing is something that I enjoy. If I don't enjoy it, I need to reevaluate why it is that that's something that I'm doing, and whether or not the pros outweigh the cons, for example.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. The worst thing we want to do is stress us out even more by realizing we have no balance.
Yeah.
So
otherwise I need to be doing a million things in a day to achieve something that looks like what somebody else might consider balance, and that's not what I'm trying to do. So,
yeah. I always think it's funny, not that it's a bad thing, but when people schedule like fun onto their calendar, I'm like, isn't this just like the anti-fun?
Yeah,
like,
it's
I get it when you need to put it in like your schedule, but it makes me kind of sad because sometimes I have to do that too, and that's just not a place I want to be.
And sometimes work is fun. Like sometimes I really genuinely enjoy what I'm doing. I'm genuinely enjoying this conversation. So I didn't need to schedule fun into this time. It's something that I like to be doing. So it's great. I think that's a different perspective and a way of reframing the challenges that we have when it comes to managing our time.
Well, that was my final question for you. I'll ask you for any last thoughts and where people can find out more about Walleye Tank again, just so they make sure they have it.
Yeah, so please visit us online, www.walleyetank.com. If you're interested in participating as a pitch or having your company pitch in the competition, please apply on our forum there. If you're interested in just visiting and coming to check out the event, please sign up on our Eventbrite page. And I look forward to meeting you there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking time to do this today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all right. Have a great day.
So I hope you enjoyed this conversation today, learning more about the Mayo Clinic Office of Entrepreneurship and Walleye Tank. And look for the Walleye Tank Startup Business Pitch Competition to come back to the community this December. Again, if you learned something from this podcast today, we would greatly appreciate if you shared it with at least one person you think should also know about this information. And also, if you learned something today, we would greatly appreciate you considering donating to our virtual tip jar to keep this platform going. So again, you can find more information about our tip jar in our show notes. So that's a wrap for us at the podcast today. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending some time with us today. It is a huge help to us if you rate this podcast wherever you listen in so that other people can find it. And also make sure that you're subscribed so that you never miss any of the stories coming out of Rochester Rising. We will see you here next Wednesday with our next Summertime Rewind episode.